Hi, this is Natalie Pace, and today I am very honored to be featuring Lesley Lowe. She is the executive director at Stanford Transportation. They have achieved a great feat, earned bike-friendly platinum status. So we'll be discovering what they do to keep the certification and all of the benefits of having, I believe it's over half of their students, faculty, and even staff riding or taking public transportation or walking to Stanford. All this and more. Remember, you can watch this back, share it with your friends. YouTube.com// at Earth Gratitude and also at Natalie Pace. Hi, so we are also going to be joined by Erin. And Erin, I'm going to go ahead and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, great. I'm Erin. I use they, them pronouns. My role in Stanford Transportation is the Sustainable Mobility Events and Outreach Lead. And so my focus is really on connections, like creating connections on campus, working with students, figuring out effective events that work, including bike skills classes, and we do these fun pop-ups on campus with our Petite Marguerite, which is a little e-bike with a trailer, and that's like branded, Stanford branded. So we do pop-ups at the farmers market, and lots of other events. So
So
yeah,
what
that's
is,
kind of my role.
I was going to ask you about Petite Marguerite. Like, what does that do? Like, do you put kids in the little tray of like, how does that work?
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, it's awesome. It's I can send you our website too when we actually did a crowdsourcing comms like campaign to name it. And so it's a custom designed trailer that is on a Turn e-bike. So the CEO of Turn actually went to Stanford, and so
Oh,
he graciously gifted us a Turn cargo bike. And so the Petite Marguerite itself is a trailer that stores a bunch of our giveaway items and flyers and things like that. And then we're able to just pop it up. We have an umbrella, and then it becomes an info station on campus. So I can just go on campus any day. I'm actually going on Friday, and set it up, and then give students bike lights or whatever we're promoting that day.
excellent. All right, so we'll talk a little bit more about how you are, because I'm also assuming that this is a piece of the equity on your 5Es. Lesley, I want to go to you. First of all, I want to know, and I'm going to go ahead and pin you so we can just look at you and you can give us a little bit of the big picture of what you are directing there. What's essential for you keeping that certification of Bike Friendly University Platinum status? And also, what is the percentage of both, students, staff, and I understand faculty as well, who are riding a bike or walking or taking public transportation instead of SOVs, which I'm sure creates greater health quality. You can also talk about all of the benefits of it. So I'll go ahead and pin you so that you have the floor here.
Amazing. So, yeah, Stanford has a drive alone rate of 38%. It's come down from 69% over a 25-year period. So we're really proud of that. We have 20% of our commuters are cyclists coming to campus. And then about 55% of our students solely use their bikes to get around campus. So we have, over 13,000 bicyclists on the campus on the daily that are navigating our campus. We have over 20,000 bicycle racks. We have more bicycle parking than we have car parking on our campus, and we're really proud of that. We are very encouraging of this because our campus culture is like really embedded the cycling and double down on cycling as part of our culture.
Right.
We believe that we can't go backwards, right? Because we've started building a campus that really is encouraging cyclists. The core of the campus has really pushed cars out. All the parking is at the fringes. So once you get into the campus core, it really is about the infrastructure that's built there for the pedestrian and the cyclist. So creating those corridors that really encourage cycling throughput
Yeah.
and making it very safe. So, like getting to those 5 E's is really important to us because it's continuing to make sure that our campus environment is like acting in the way that we've started creating that culture for, right? So, the culture and the infrastructure are leading to those pieces.
Yeah, and I do want to talk a little bit about that. I mean, I want us to highlight the 5 E's, and I really have that as a core question. But I also want to talk about just the transition because you talked about, less parking for cars, pushing the cars on the periphery, creating a safe space for the bikes. That's a lot of urban redesign. So, and perhaps you weren't there at the beginning of this, but I'm sure as a specialist in the area, let's say there is a university out there that wants to start on your path. Do you have any suggestions on where they start on this process?
You know, our transportation team has worked really closely with our campus planners. So the campus planners have, over the last 20 years, gone back to the Frederick Law Olmsted Plan, which created those like corridors and like the quads, which gives us more of a grid pattern in the campus core. And I think that's really been helpful in moving cyclists across the university. So connecting those residential areas on campus to the academic center through like real straight line throughput. And that's really important for cyclists, right? To be able to move freely and quickly through the campus. So I think from a transportation standpoint, like having really good insight into what the campus master plan is and making sure that those lines of sight are and what the campus planners are doing are layering into that engineering side
Right.
and putting the groundwork, the infrastructure in place for this to happen. Because then you can layer on the other E's, right? So the evaluation of is it working, right? You can add that encouragement and the education piece onto that. So it really just all starts layering up together. And then, of course, the last E being equity. It used to be enforcement. Now being equity is making sure that it's that the bicycling is available to all of our community.
Wonderful. Erin, I'm going to pull you back in just a moment, but perhaps even at the end of this part of this question, what are the benefits? I'm sure you know, why even do this? What are the benefits for the university, the faculty, the staff, the students? There has to be, I mean, I could name off a few, but I'd like to hear what are your guiding principles on this?
I think the biggest benefit for us is creating like a campus that is sustainable, right? So we it's getting that the growth in the dense, compact urban core that you want, but doing it in a way that's still very malleable for a cyclist. So there's the health benefits. You're educating a future population to have a more sustainable lifestyle. And for us, it's just meeting all of our land use goals and sustainability goals as a campus. So I think, those are largely, I would say, is like, educating the future population to understand that this is a lifestyle choice, and you've given them the tools to have, a bicycle culture. And I have to say, like, I feel like a lot of our population will then go and live in, say, like Palo Alto or something, or adjacent
Right.
community. And you see they have a really large bicycle mode share as well. And they are also, I think, a gold standard when it comes to a bicycle friendly city. And it's because they're also layering on the Stanford's success with, creating this bicycle culture. And it's also like flooding into the cities nearby. So I think there's that synergy that creates this whole community and geography of cycling. It's similar to what I think happens in Amsterdam and Copenhagen, where you kind of start creating this larger network of bicycles.
Yeah, I love that idea that the university could be the hub where it inspires the creation. Erin, I want you to chime in here because I know that you're also dealing with a lot of the people who are actually riding the bikes. Do you see a difference between maybe mental health, ability to focus, oxygenated cells, all of this too, as an added bonus?
Yeah. Yeah, totally. There's actually a great organization called Outride. It's specialized um the bike retailer specialized. Their nonprofit is called Outride, and they've done a lot of research around the health benefits of biking, especially when it comes to mental health, especially when it comes to youth. And so we know on campus, that many students struggle with mental health issues, and biking can actually be the key to, or one of the solutions to really helping folks with their mental health. And so yeah, we definitely hear lots of anecdotal evidence from students and all across faculty, staff. Like people want to volunteer, for Bike to Work Day and Bike to Wherever Day. Like people are excited. Like the joy is really palpable, especially in May during Bike Month. And anytime I host a bike repair class, it's a fun job because people love biking and it brings them so much joy. And that mental benefit that you mentioned is so huge. We've actually partnered with our Be Well team. So our Be Well team is the team that handles sort of like the health, publicizing the health aspect of the gosh, how would I explain this? It's our health team for staff. So, we have these benefits that staff can access in regards to health. And so we've actually we've put on webinars about, why biking is so essential. And so I guess just going back to your original question, lots of universities start some of these programs through their actual health teams. If you don't have a fully staffed campus planning team, if you don't have a robust transportation team to lean into, you can start with your health benefits team. It's a really good place to kind of introduce biking, to staff, students, and et cetera.
Well, yeah, I mean, even when we're talking about mental health, I mean, there are rigorous study demands on these students, and trying to keep up their grades. But, if in between classes you're jumping on your bike, right, that's also health, physical health, so that you're not just sitting in your chair pounding down calories and gaining weight. I mean, we have to admit, I think the numbers are astonishing. I know it's over 40% obesity rates in the United States these days. So, I'm sure that hopefully this is helping your students to be healthy as well.
Yeah, and we actually see one of our biggest populations that is visible on campus are our athletes. We just had the Olympics, so athletes are kind of top of mind. And the athletes, they love to bike and scooter around campus.
Wow.
And so, yeah, so that's a big, and they're a big, influential population. And so we really think strategically about how we can partner with athletics to really promote biking as a healthy and fun and sustainable option.
Okay, so we'll come back to the five E's, and I wanted to start with encouragement, education, and equity because, Erin, I'm guessing that you're really involved in those three areas. Do you want to talk about how do you do the encouragement? Do you go ahead and use some of those superstar Stanford athletes to help with that? And how are you educating people to ride a bike or the benefits? Like how are you pulling them in? And then, of course, we'll get to the equity as well.
Yeah, there's so many things. I mean, Lesley knows, because we were just working on the budget, but there's so many great ideas. I love hearing. Honestly, my priority is listening to the students first. So not trying to recreate the wheel, but really like thinking about strategically how we can piggyback off of, some of the things that students already do. One of the biggest I was just talking to somebody in student services, and one of the biggest drivers for students is social connection. And so, really thinking strategically about how our events can, connect students and kind of foster that sense of connection is really important. But yeah, so like specifically how we weave in equity. Equity is like really important to me. I've always been kind of a champion of equity in all the work I do, really, honestly. It's Yeah, so it's really important. One of the things that we're looking to do this year is partner with BORP, which is an organization out of Berkeley, and they offer accessible hand bikes for folks with disabilities. And so partnering with them is a really great opportunity to offer hand bikes to people on campus with disabilities. So that's one of the ideas I have that hopefully we can do this coming year. We also have, lots of ideas around how we can better reach all types of marginalized populations. So women, people of color, people who don't speak English. I actually found a Spanish speaking bike mechanic, who is hopefully going to do a class in Spanish this year.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's really kind of endless, like the things. I think the really important thing that other folks could benefit from is like really having a person or staff person in a role that is really managing your bike program, and then beyond that, like the events that you're gonna do.
Right.
Because without that, I wouldn't be able to think of all these great ideas and implement them. If I was focused on, you know, something else. I think this role is it's a great role for me. And it's really important to be able to, get to that implementation phase.
Well, I love it. And we can see your effervescence here. Okay, Lesley, I'm going to jump over to you and talk. Why do we need education? I mean, it seems like riding a bike is so simple. So, what are you focused on the education part of it? And also, I want to go back a little bit to engineering and evaluation, like what tools you're using there that you think are going to be really important for other universities, either transitioning into more of a bike culture or maintaining their bike culture.
I mean, the education piece is important. One, because we have a revolving population, right? And we have a lot of international students as well, so they may not understand the rules of the road when it comes to the
Ah,
US, right?
right.
So I think, and sometimes it starts at the very ground level. Erin also teaches learn to ride classes. There are people who grow up in very urban environments who've never ridden a bike. So, and most students who come to the university have only ridden a bike recreationally, perhaps, and maybe not as a commute mode, right? So they may not understand the rules of the road. And so you still have to navigate around pedestrians and other cyclists and understanding. So just understanding the basics is important. And we have to do that so that we don't have to do enforcement. So, and so it creates a safer infrastructure.
Right.
So that people are able to navigate around each other. So the engineering side, the place where I feel like universities should start is with piloting. So one thing that we do with our campus planning partners is when we're going to implement something, we do it on a smaller scale and make iterations and understand and let the students interact with it before we actually put it into concrete, if you will.
Right.
So for an example, on one of our main pedestrian bicycle corridors, Jane Stanford Way, it runs right in front of, it's the most iconic parts of Stanford, right in front of the main historic quad.
Yes.
There we had put some what we call bicycle circles. So it was an intersection where bicyclists were, crossing basically at a T or at a full four-way stop, but they weren't stopping, right? And so they were causing like infrastructure impacts, or the infrastructure was causing impacts, if you will. So the
Right.
pedestrians and the bikes were all kind of just joining in this middle, and they were calling it it was,
Chaos.
especially during class time, it was chaos. And so what we were able to do was to create a mini traffic circle and we did it with, just small movable pieces and like let students interact with it and try to refine it and let them comment on it
Mm,
through a pilot phase. And then as it started to morph into something, we made small iterations. And then when we were finally ready, we were able to implement that into an actual solid piece of infrastructure in a really beautiful way with landscaping and raised curbs and et cetera, and it works really well. And
right.
once we were able to pilot it, then we were able to use that same model and put it in a couple other locations where we saw similar impacts. So I think for other universities on the engineering side, I would encourage them to start small and make iterations rather than trying to make heavy moves all at once.
But the pilot seems really key, right? Because you do
Yes,
also want, you do have people like pedestrians and cars who have very strong opinions about what they want to do, right? And
exactly.
piloting program does allow people to air grievances and maybe even inform a better plan, right?
Absolutely. And I think that has been the key to it. Like we make small iterations to it to
Right.
make sure that it's working before we put it into like practice. And there's other examples of that on the campus where, we put something in there and we realize, oh, well, that's actually not working for the car, or it's not working where the bikes and the cars are meeting. It's not working. We need to make a small adjustment. And so being able to make that adjustment without having to like tear something out is key. And I think that other universities can definitely learn from that,
Okay, so
as
both.
well as jurisdictions. As cities, it's the same thing, right? I know other cities do the same thing. Start with the paint.
Yes, yes, definitely. I'm in Santa Monica, so I've been watching the transition, creating better, safer shared roads, et cetera, and it's really lovely. And participating in the activism involved in that, right? So like
Right.
your act of riding a bike is saying, I want a shared road. Let's not forget that, right? So let's talk about future goals and or fixes challenges. Like what is it that you're focused on and what do you see in the year ahead?
I think there's multiple things, and I'll let Erin weigh in on this as well. But I think for me, I think one of the questions I didn't answer yet was how are we doing the evaluation? So
Yeah.
there's a couple places that we're doing that. So one is we do a commute, what we call our commute survey once a year, and it has specifically asked people how they're getting around campus or getting to campus. And so we take a lot of information about that and understand who our population is and what their needs are. And so there's a whole section on for our cyclists that they answer questions, and that helps Erin define their programs. It also helps us understand what we need on the infrastructure side. So there's our commute program. And then the other piece is that we also do a lot of mapping. So understanding where there's incidents on campus so that we can address infrastructure problems. And so that's the evaluation side of house that we're constantly trying to address. So with that said, I think there are some hot spots on campus that we definitely want to figure out how to move forward with. So already like working with our Department of Public Safety and our campus planners to figure out how do we go to those places where we're seeing hot spots with incidents or near collisions and making sure that we're addressing those so that we can move into a safer future. So that's one of the things I see for my future is just continuing to make those iterations on campus to make us have the safest campus for cyclists and pedestrians, right? And then the other thing I really want to address this coming year is bike circularity. So this is very much on the sustainability front. So what happens when people come to campus, right, is they bring a bike. And
Right.
so what happens to that bike over the course of the year? And what happens to that? So making sure that as a student brings a bike to campus, that they understand how to maintain it. So that's where Erin comes in with like how to take care of your bike maintenance classes, fix a flat classes, right? How do they store it? If it's an e-bike, we need to address how do they charge it. This is a new thing for Stanford. This is like a quickly moving, and all the universities are trying to address it. And then what happens at the end of the year when the student leaves? Do they store the bike over the summer? Do they donate the bike? And so all of this has to do with sustainability too. And it gets to a problem that Stanford and I think other universities have to address related to the sustainability of the bike itself and making sure that the bike has a life after the student leaves the campus. So is that bike donated to a nonprofit? Is it sold to another student or gifted to another student in the future? And how do we make sure that it's in good shape to do that? And then layering on that would also be like, should Stanford's fully investigating if bike share is something for our future as well? Does that make sense on our campus? In the past, we've
Oh, I
have
like
thought that it might not work for us because most commuters and students have their bikes. But if we can make a bike share work, we're trying to figure out how to make a bike share work for the Stanford population. So that is something we're also heavily investigating and understanding if it could work for our community.
right. Okay. All right. So, and Erin, I am going to bring you back in for a few more things, but before we do, I would just ask you this. If there were one challenge that you could give to both city officials and also to other university, presidents that want to lean further into sustainability, what would the challenge be on where to start thinking about greater transportation is a huge piece of CO2. It's a huge piece of the solution. So where would you tell them to start on this path, or what challenge would you issue?
I have the answer. I have an answer.
Okay.
I would say rent a bike and bike around your campus. And ideally do it with students, right?
Right.
Go on the ground because you can't know what your issues you're facing and what you need to address until you actually go see them, you know?
Right.
Maybe there's something that you won't expect. Maybe you'll find like something really cool that students are doing. Like you don't know what you're gonna see. And so I really, especially university presidents, I really and people like Lesley is on the ground and she really listens to her staff and what we need and that's what you need to do. You need to be on the ground and I bike every day. I bike to Caltrain and then I take Caltrain and then I bike from the station and I find out information, like good information to improve our programs that way. And yeah, so yeah, bike around campus. That would be my suggestion.
I love it. I love it. And anything you want to add to that, Lesley?
Yeah, I mean, I guess from just layering on that, I think the thing that we really need to do is continue to invest in the infrastructure, right? So making sure that we're making room for bicyclists on the road. And so, yeah, jurisdictions as well as universities, right? Making sure we're continuing to prioritize
Yeah.
the cyclist and the safety of that. I love the 8 to 80 rule. You want to have a road that works for an 8-year-old all the way up to 80-year-old, right? So that an 8-year-old should be able to ride on a road by themselves, and the parents should be able to feel comfortable with that. And that means we need to make sure cars are driving at, lower
Right.
speeds, creating lower volume roads, removing parking where we can, the on-street parking and moving them into, underground garages. That's what Stanford has tried to do, right? To move so that we have to worry about, doors, hitting you as you go cycling by. So I think really, jurisdictions and university campuses really need to focus in on creating that infrastructure because if you build it, they will come, right?
Right.
So I know that's very cliche to say, but I do believe that if you create the environment that people will feel comfortable and then you start creating that culture that you need. And
Ab-
California is perfect for this. I mean, like we have the topography, we have the climate. There's no reason that we can't recreate like a Copenhagen or a Amsterdam here in a way that where we're all connected with a web of bicycle facilities.
Great. And it's funny because I was thinking the chicken and the egg. If you build it, they will come. But also, if they haven't built it, if you start writing, they will come. I see these kids that are forming bike buses to,
Hmm.
all the kids on their little bike, right? And now all the residents know, oh, here comes the bike bus. I'm not going to go driving into it,
Yes. Yeah, and then we see that in the Safe Routes to School programs in Palo Alto and Menlo Park, our neighbors, and it's beautiful to see, right? So they're creating the culture from the ground up, starting at the elementary school level and all the way through high school, encouraging students to ride their bikes and creating communities that way. And I really feel like it's a great place for Stanford to kind of sit at the center of that and continue to feed into what we're trying to create in our geography.
Okay, so I always like to give people a chance to say one last thing of anything they wish to say. Lesley, I'll give it to you, and then Erin, I'll give it to you.
I mean, yeah, I'm super excited about, where Stanford is going. I feel like we have new energy post-COVID to like really double down on what's happening on the bicycle front. And I feel like I have a really good team in place that's motivated, and we are going to be positioning ourselves for our fifth platinum soon. And so I'm just excited to continue to thrive on those five E's.
Fantastic. And Erin, how about you? Any last final words that you want to say?
Get on a bike. It's so fun. Yeah, that's it.
Great. So again, we at the Earth Gratitude Project really want to thank Lesley Lowe and Erin Fieberling for participating in this important interview. I certainly hope you take their challenge to heart. March 28th, 1 hour in your time zone at 8:30 p.m. We're going to do a global Earth Gratitude Peace celebration. You can do anything you want. Just make sure it's planet friendly and maybe promoting peace. And tag us. We're Earth Gratitude on Facebook and Earth_Gratitude on Instagram. Tag us as a collaborator. And that way we can show these peace celebrations rolling around the planet, right? It's like New Year's Eve. It'll start in Australia and end in Hawaii. And then leading up to Earth Day on April 22nd, we're actually March 28th on Earth Hour, we're going to be launching our 21-day Earth Gratitude Challenges. You just heard what Stanford's bike programs challenges to you. Just get on a bike and ride. And each day there's going to be some inspiring sustainability or a gratitude because the power of gratitude can be really essential. And do sign up for that. Go to earthgratitude.org to sign up for that now or email in Natalie Pace, that's me, Natalie Pace at earthgratitude.org. Thanks again.